place up.
Let's do this. Gentlemen, it's time. Welcome to Frolic Harder, and welcome to... Yeah, that's a thing that exists.
Yeah, I love it, man.
It's a good title.
You like that? Because
I do like that.
Anybody actually knows that this exists. What's your name?
Oh, see, I'm forgetting again. So bad. My name is Matt, your trusty, not remembering to introduce anyone host, joined by my co-host and sports aficionado and expert at the obscure, Brennan. Say hi.
Hi.
And as always, the man, the myth, the bovine legend, Producer Moo.
Hello, Moo.
The bovine legend. That's
the bovine legend himself.
I think that Producer Moo is just going to be added to the vast list of cryptids that exist in the world now.
Oh,
sounds good.
On another cryptid episode now.
You're just now we got to create a whole backstory for the bovine legend now.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
This is so good.
Well,
so, what do you guys know about combat juggling?
Absolutely nothing.
Not a lot.
Up until recently, I don't even remember how I came across this, but a few days back, I remember Matt's just like, "You got any idea what you're gonna do for your next episode?" And I was like, "Combat juggling," and you were just like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Didn't even know what it was, but you were excited about it, and that's what matters.
But in all seriousness, how did you find this?
I don't remember. I was just down one of those like internet rabbit holes one day, and this was like a side note of some random thing I came across. So I was like, I have to go all in on this now. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Was this a search like my my YouTube music search I sent you guys a while back, where it was like King of Wishful Thinking, went into Cutting Crew, went into In Sync, I think.
Yeah, it's like that, man. Once you open the rabbit hole, like you never know what you're going to find on the internet. There's literally everything. So I came across combat juggling. So you're probably going to ask, what is that, right? So it's combat juggling. It's also known as gladiator, just gladiator, but it's also known as what the hell. That's one of the names that people know it by. Is just what the
hell seems accurate. Gladiator, you can't. I don't know if they have the...
Well, yeah, Gladiator has kind of like a thing.
Yeah, like American Gladiator.
Yeah.
We need to do an episode on.
American Juggling Gladiator.
Yeah.
I'll bring it back.
So it's categorized as a sport and martial art played by 2 or more players, juggling 3 juggling clubs each. So like bowling pin clubs that people are juggling and all that. So basically, combat can be played individually against a single opponent. So like a 1v1 kind of thing, where it's just you go in, and the way they have like the arena set up, it's like a sumo ring, and there's 2 guys that are juggling 3 pins back and forth, and the first one to get knocked out of the sumo ring loses. So there's some rules I'm going to get into before I kind of describe how the sport's played, but painting the picture, think of a sumo ring with 2 guys juggling 3 pins each. So you can also do teams. So 2 or more players on each side, basically, or you could do a Royal Rumble, like a free-for-all. So 1v1 teams or last man standing, like Fortnite, whatever you want to call it, that kind of style. Like,
hell yes.
Yeah. So I saw a couple videos on this, and it was just basically, think of like a dodgeball court, and that's the way this is set up. And it was just, I loved the clip I saw of like, it was just a free-for-all Royal Rumble, just a bunch of guys running up and down this like dodgeball court juggling, and it's insane, dude. You like, we got to put a clip into this so you can all see it, or else it just doesn't make sense. I had to see it to understand it. So the object of the game is to maintain your own 3 pins juggling while attempting to make the other opponents drop 1 or more clubs. So that's like the standard when it's a team or free-for-all thing versus the 1v1 where you got to knock your opponent out of the sumo ring.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the actual breakdown of the rules. So the players start juggling 3 clubs at a time. Players are allowed to interfere with other players' patterns in an attempt to make them drop. So you can basically, while you're juggling, you can take one of your like pins and just swat people with it. So it's like, yeah, man, it's intense. So yeah, so the way that I saw them doing it is they're like juggling. They throw one up super high in the air, take the two that they have and just start like whacking at each other's pins, and then catch the other one and maintain juggling somehow.
Okay, so they're hitting each other's pins. Now they're all like bashing each other's like shins in or something. Okay,
kind of swat each other's pins and stuff like that. But it's crazy. So you should only attack the other opponent's clubs, not their bodies. So that's a specific rule. So it's like a foul if you like shoulder check someone.
Good to know.
Yeah. So anyone who is no longer juggling at least 3 clubs because they dropped it, someone else collected it, or club has been stolen by an opponent. So I could just straight up snatch your club and throw it into my rotation. You lose.
Oh,
Dude, it's like all out juggling war. So that's the way you're out of the game. Last person juggling wins. So you could kind of paint this picture. It's a bunch of dudes just running around an arena. And I mean, they're like crisscrossing. It's cluster effed everywhere, man. There's just guys just swatting at each other's pins. And it's like the most coordinated thing I have ever seen. So like, despite people swatting at them, they somehow like reach down, grab it before it hits the ground and flip it back up, man. These guys are athletes out here.
I can't lie. I really thought it was going to be like they're juggling, bashing each other, like drop kicking each other while struggling.
Hey,
I was hoping there was a chainsaw version.
Can you imagine? Wait. Based off of your idea, though, we could basically do the XFL version of combat juggling.
We can improve upon this.
Yes.
I'd say this is along the lines of like frisbee golf.
It's out there more. I don't know if it would be like frisbee golf, but it's definitely something that's not common. I think frisbee golf is pretty well known. I've never heard of combat juggling.
No, not with like well known, but this is definitely like I could say a college bro type of game. I was sure I knew about this back in my youth.
Yeah, look, we could start a whole network. Yeah, your combat juggling. Maybe we start combat hacky sack.
Combat hacky sack, where you just Chuck Norris roundhouse kick each other before the hacky sack drops.
We could do a frisbee version, so it's kind of like that new slap show or whatever. You just get a weighted frisbee and just launch at each other's faces.
Future episode. That slap thing is a future episode. I was already thinking about that.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a way that we can make this way more violent than it currently is, but.
There it is.
There we go. Oh, that went on longer than I thought. He's got a long rumble on that. Yeah, he's really made it a career out of doing one thing.
Good for him.
Okay, so let's touch on the 1v1 aspect of this sport. So the player who drops will not gain a point. So if you drop your pin, you don't get a point. While the other player maintains juggling longer, the opponent finishes their pattern cleanly, i.e. catches all 3 clubs without a dropping, they get a point. So that's the way. It's 1 point for maintaining, and you get nothing if you drop. So it's kind of a simple rule. And then you've got the sumo ring that you can bump each other out of. So you drop it or get bumped out of the ring, take an L. So
this one, they're not allowed to hit each other, right?
Right.
So how are they doing the bumping?
You're more
kind of like
invading the other person's space. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And don't forget, you could steal each other's clubs and swat theirs out of their hands. So
okay. So if you got 2 like, let's say, gentlemanly players, and so could they just stand there juggling, just
technically yes,
infinitely until someone tires out and stops?
Yes. In theory, that is correct. Yeah. So let's talk about group combat now. So in its most typical form, a number of players compete in a group, each attempting to interfere with the other player's juggling, with the winner being the last to maintain, juggling 3 clubs. So you've got 2 whole teams. So usually they've got like a red or a blue uniform on or whatever it is. And you can help your teammates out. Like if you've got 2 guys that you can see are going at it and you're kind of in the clear, you can walk up and swat the other guy's thing away to kind of help your teammate out and all that. So it's this is one of the videos I saw also. I like the Royal Rumble one the best because it was just chaos, but The team combat juggling here is quite the feat to watch. It's a lot more coordinated than you would think it would be. Like, these people practice. We're talking about practice, all right?
Talk about practice.
Talking about practice. So that's kind of, you got the baseline of how the different kind of variants work now. So let's talk about the competition aspect of this, because it's a real thing. So competitive combat juggling is moderately popular in most of Europe and the US. Most important international competition is the European Juggling Convention, and they call it Fight Night. So it's hardcore, man. The World Juggling Federation also organizes the Major League Combat, a team version of combat juggling as well. So they kind of are the NFL of combat juggling. So there's like a commissioner and all that kind of oversees everything. Now, to touch on the European part of this, so the European Juggling Convention, which is like their major thing out in Europe, it's the largest juggling convention in the world, regularly attracting several thousand participants. So this isn't just like a small club that gets together. It's a whole like league of extraordinary juggling gentlemen over here. So it's held every year in a different country in Europe, organized by changing local organization committees, which are supported by the European Juggle Association, a nonprofit association founded back in the great year of 1987. So, yeah, look at that. We're watching it. So now you guys can kind of see what's going on there. I know not everybody can see it yet, but it's pretty intense. So in France, like most juggling conventions, it featured a mix of workshops, jugglers, a renegade performance, performed by participants. They do games, performances, like a public show, like a talent show kind of thing. So they do different juggling tricks and such. Usually spread over the period of a week or so in the European summer. Accommodation is usually in the form of tents provided by participants. So the way that they had this set up is, think of in the Harry Potter movies when they go to like the Quidditch World Cup. If you've seen that, I think it's the 4th movie, right? So they've got just like tent city set up. It looks just like that. They do it outside and everything. Yeah.
Try to gaslight me?
I am. Do it.
No.
John, yeah, producer Moo knew exactly what I was talking about right there. So now you have that picture in your head.
Book and movie, either way you describe it, I probably understood that. Yeah, but I imagine Matt did it.
Right. So
it's a bunch of tents. It's what, music festival?
Looks like a circuit. Looks like Coachella out there.
Like a hobo refuge?
Like a hobo Coachella.
Skid Row, but
I lived in Portland, guys. I know what that looks like.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you were out there with the hippies. That's right. The great state of America over here. All right, so little history behind this whole thing is the first EJC, or European Juggling Committee, was inspired by a festival and organized by jugglers who didn't want to travel to the USA. The IJA helped by giving the organizers a list of known as the roster of members living in Europe. So they kind of provide the phone book to get all this stuff together. It's also known as the first European IJA mini convention and had an attendance of just 11 jugglers from 5 countries. It's now grown much bigger than its inspiration has been much less focused on competitive juggling, but more about the sharing of juggling. So it's basically bring the jugglers together. Yeah, it's competitive and all that, but it's more like just a bunch of friends getting together and doing all this.
How's that? It's like when the yo-yo guy would come to your school.
Exactly. Yeah, they're just there for.
I love that day. That was the best day.
That was the best. You guys remember like brain yo-yos back in the day?
Yeah, dude. I had to like beg to get that.
Yeah, it wasn't until the second year of the juggle or the yo-yo man that I got my brain. I had a yo-yo.
There was a couple like super popular brands. It was like the Brain and Duncan was like Duncan was one of those ones that didn't like do the sleep thing.
It does sleeping, but it doesn't come back. Duncan was like the really fancy, like pro fast ones.
Yeah, where they're doing all the tricks and stuff, right?
Yeah.
My yo-yo knowledge is not vast, so
I love yo-yos, but I sucked with it. If
I just
YouTube
remembered
existed
like
back then, I would have watched you like yo-yo videos. I should watch yo-yo
back when
videos
we were
now.
in like 5th, 6th grade, those were like everybody had a yo-yo or a hacky sack, one of the two.
And if you didn't get a yo-yo when the yo-yo man came, you're a chump. You're
You're a chump.
gonna get beat. You're gonna get beat up.
What a dork.
I always got at least like the cheap one, you know. Like
Yeah.
I had like
Like the
5,
Hot Wheels car
$6.
one.
Oh man.
That was the one I got the first time.
Yeah,
It's
hey,
like when
yo-yo,
you're
yo-yo.
it's like when your buddy shows up and you're like, "Well, I got the new whatever MacBook Pro," and you're like, "Well, my parents got me the Kmart brand."
It's like when I talk
Yeah.
to you. It's like when I talk to you guys. I'm like, hey, I got my Xbox 360 still,
Exactly. You're
but
just
I'm proud of it. I'm vintage.
hey, you're vintage, and you should be happy that you have an Xbox 360 that didn't get red ringed of death. So, you know,
See, winning.
quite the feat. Yeah, you're winning right
Winning
there.
on
I
all
feel like
levels.
I feel like I have a 360 somewhere that's still alive.
I think I might have one in my garage somewhere, but I'm on to the Series X now, so I'm, in the future. So, quick touch on what the World Juggling Federation is. It's the world's only organization devoted to the promotion and advancement of juggling as a sport or competitive juggling. So,
I could see
that's
this going in the Olympics.
dude, combat juggling in the Olympics needs to be a thing. So a little bit of backstory behind the World Juggling Federation. So it was back in the year of our Lord 2000. A longtime member named Jason Garfield founded the WJF. Garfield attracted interest in membership by framing the skills of juggling as a sport. So not just a hobby, but a sport. The WJF broadcast its first juggling convention on ESPN2 back in January of 2005. So this has got TV time before. I mean,
This was
this
back
has
when
been
ESPN was awesome though, and they like had bowling during the day.
back in the bowling days, and yeah.
Oh, Pete Weber.
Dude, I
Oh man,
Go
love
bowler.
daytime
so
ESPN
good.
in 2000s.
Yeah,
Early
that was Sports Center was different back then. So it's this was back in 2005. Its second convention on ESPN later the same year. In 2021, so a couple years ago, the WJF was reestablished as a 501c3 organization. And announced its goal to create a juggling event at the Olympics. I was going to wait for it. So they have petitioned to get this in the Olympics. So I was like, oh, Producer Moo's onto it here. So they are pushing to get combat juggling in the Olympics. So a little bit of the competition notes about the WJF. So its most well-known event is the WJF convention, which has been broadcast on ESPN2, like I said. The organization encourages jugglers to compete against each other in order to get better. So they're basically like, get good, play against each other. This is like, who are you going to practice with at home, right? It's the few, the proud, the combat jugglers out there. So
True.
there's not many of them. So they sponsor different events for jugglers. Participants use juggling props also, which include bowls, rings, clubs, cigar boxes,
Chainsaws.
yeah, and devil sticks. So you guys remember devil sticks?
What the fuck is a devil stick?
Yeah, they had like the two sticks, but with the one that you were juggling up in the air and you could do like different tricks with. Like you'd always see people like hitting left and right. Yeah, those kind of things. Yeah,
poor people things. They had like rubber wrapped around them. You can like throw them in the air.
exactly.
They came after the Yo-Yo Man.
Yeah, then you could like twirl one around on another stick and all. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't do really like a presentation for that one. It was more just kind of like something you. I think you got it like on book fair days. It was one of the random knickknacks.
Yeah, it was. Oh, so good. The Scholastic book fair.
You never actually buy books from the book fair.
No, you get posters. Usually a nice calendar.
Some erasers that look like shit.
I will jump in there though. I did get my goosebumps at the toy fair or the book fairs.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
Books. Yeah,
Goosebump books. Yeah, I guess I did get some books, but I also just really
a lot of
wanted
posters.
knickknacks.
I went to the Scholastic store in New York City on my honeymoon.
There's a Scholastic store.
Yeah,
there was a Scholastic
lovely.
store. It didn't feel like the book fair though.
Nothing does.
It was cool, but it didn't give the same. And we were probably like the oldest people in there too.
When you get like
without
that
kids
magazine and shit. Oh, this is what we
highlights.
Yeah. Dude, well, you
Highlights.
could get the subscriptions too. Like they used to do so many things to get money out of us back in school days. It was crazy.
As a
Highlights were at
father,
every dental office ever. I always remember going to the dentist and there was a
They
highlights
still
magazine.
are. I feel like they're awesome.
my kid is a proud highlights subscriber right now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
That's
a
good.
gift from one of his grandmothers.
Ooh,
I
that's
feel
lovely.
like should do
All
that.
right.
I was just thinking. I thought a lady was gonna get one of those for my kid. And I haven't
Lady is
seen it
John's
yet.
mom, by the way.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay.
Oh,
Someday.
Oliver called her lady the other day. It was pretty
Just
funny.
lady. I
Yeah,
love that.
It's usually grandma, but he's starting to pick up all the different names. Like he knows my name and he knows my wife's name outside
Does he
of
say
mommy and
producer
daddy.
Moo?
Yeah, surprisingly
That's
enough.
amazing.
I love that.
I'm gonna have to
That's
get
so
him to
good.
say that now.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I digress. Onward. So the WJF competition events sometimes include, pending enough competitors attending, of course, club passing. So that thing where they like stand across from each other and they juggle back and forth. 360s, so spinning around stuff. They do endurance competitions, kind of like you were saying, Matt. They're like, can they just, in theory, stand there until someone gets tired?
I want to see that.
They do endurance competitions, isolated endurance competitions as well. Freestyle, so you got people doing like their own kind of made up tricks and all that. And what they categorize as extreme competitions, which they didn't elaborate on in any article that I could find.
Chainsaws.
Chainsaws. Yeah. Oh, that would be, those are the extreme competitions.
Or those flaming ones.
Maybe that is I would assume so, right? Like the flaming torches
Probably.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I would categorize as an extreme competition. And you get lit on fire, it's pretty extreme. So there are junior, beginner, intermediate, and advanced level competitors in each of the three main disciplines. So that way, kids are going against kids. You don't want to see some like 6'4", 220-pound yoked dude like swat a little 10-year-old's pin away. Although it would be quite entertaining to watch that.
Who doesn't want to see that?
I don't know. It sounds like something I'd like to see. Someone let the dogs out here. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but all right. So what they categorize as like different conventions and championships now. So the annual WJF conventions are held, and juggling competitions produce annual winners who are named as the overall champions. So you don't like get a ring like a Super Bowl ring or anything. You're just deemed the overall champion. Yeah, you get a belt, maybe. Yeah, maybe a belt. Maybe a belt. If you don't, like, that's maybe they'll get an Olympic medal in the future. Who knows, right?
Who knows?
So at the WJF 5, the top competition event ran alongside the battle for the WJF presidency. So they're trying to elect a new president to oversee everything with a gentleman named Thomas Dietz. He is a 4-time Las Vegas combat juggling champion, by the way. He has the most wins in the history of combat juggling. So Thomas Dietz, we're going to touch on a little bit in a couple minutes here. So he was the inaugural winner of the first combat juggling competition as well, beating a guy named Jason Garfield. Dietz resigned from the presidency soon after, so the winner was going to be the president. So he won, was called president. He said, I just don't have time for this, basically. So he straight up resigned and said, like, I have too much stuff going on in my life. I can't be the president of the World Juggling Federation. So basically couldn't fulfill his duties. So at the championships in 2011, a guy named Doug Sayers was initially named overall champion. But this is the one thing I could find where something went awry in the world of combat juggling. So
excited.
They had a recount, basically. So he was named the champion. He won. And then they said, wait, there's more. So the loser basically said, like, you guys scored this incorrectly. I can't believe I lost. Like, this guy I won. He didn't. So they basically had a miscount of the scores and was proved to be correct. So a guy named Galchenko Vova had scored more points overall. So they stripped Doug Sayers of his title and gave it to Galchenko Vova.
Galchenko. Wow.
Way to keep fighting.
Very nice.
Yeah, one up for you. So there have been 19 championships played so far in the sport, with 13 of the 16 hosted in Las Vegas. So I made a special note for Producer Moo to attend the World Juggling competitions the next time they're in town. I need it. I need you to go.
You have to go.
You have to.
Yeah.
So
You don't have a choice. We need a man on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, it just happened in December, so we're a few months late.
Okay, so if it's next December, you definitely need to look into tickets for that, because I can't imagine it's very much to go.
It's probably nothing.
It's probably like $20 to get in.
We got to get this man a little sports coat and like the old school microphone. Do some interviews for us?
Do some interview, man. We got to get you to interview some of these athletes, some of these extraordinary athletes.
You got to fight Galchenko.
Yeah, dude, go tell him way to stay with it, Galchenko.
I will do this.
So to kind of wrap up this whole little episode we're doing here, the only person I could find any information on, like specific person, was Thomas Dietz, who I mentioned was the 4-time champion and won the inaugural championship for this. So everybody else had like no info to be found, couldn't find him unless I like stalked some Facebooks or whatever. But yeah, this is the only guy I could find anything on. So Thomas Dietz, is a dude that was born back in 1982, professional jugger from Germany, actually. So he's not American at all. He came from Germany and just came into Vegas and smoked some ass over there in this championship. Yeah, he's the number one overall winner. So he's recognized as also one of the greatest technical jugglers in the world. He holds a few different unofficial juggling records, and also the 5-club juggling world record holder at 53 minutes and 21 seconds. So He juggled 5 clubs for over 53 minutes. So that is the world record. He gained the most of his popularity through several juggling videos featuring highly technical tricks, including sight swap. I had to Google what sight swap was, and even after reading a thorough article on it, I don't understand what it is. There is so much math involved with the sight swap variant of juggling that I couldn't understand it. It's math, dude. It's a lot of math. So these guys are crazy talented. So if you want to look up what sight swap juggling is, you'll know what I mean. It's darn near impossible to get down. He also did pirouettes and long runs of numbers with clubs, balls, and sometimes rings as well. So that's basically what I could find on our man Thomas Dietz to wrap this up. And the only thing that I could think of that gave him this power is his dedication to running faster, jumping higher, and frolicking harder.
You did the thing. Wow.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.